Well, good evening, everyone. It is October 16th, 2025, and we've taken 2 or 3 weeks off, but we are back once again as the Violet Flame Triad of the Molecular Order, discussing the works of Alice A. Bailey, who channeled the Tibetan master Jewel Kool. And without further ado, well, I'll tell you, where we've been, so you'll need to know. Is 3 weeks ago we had a gathering of lights in Pine, Idaho. There were 16 of us that came and had a very strong solar connection, and felt the presence of some masters. We don't know who, but we know that there were some enlightened souls that were tuning in because we were all very forward-thinking, high-minded, wanting to do as much good as we can on the planet to raise consciousness as a group. And as you know, the Aquarian Age is all about group consciousness. And the next step in human evolution is to form groups and teams, and so people can rise above the influences of the lower personality and create a union of souls. Then the week after that, my wife and I went to Coos Bay, Oregon coast, to spend time with her sister, and we worked like slaves to make her place beautiful, which we did. And then we flew back, and then last week, I could not get on the our Facebook page here to save my soul. There were three entrances to get into Zoom, and I couldn't make any of them work. So, needless to say, at 8:45 we all gave up, went home, took our toys and went home. But this time, here we are, a month later, without Cindy. Cindy, you'll be sorely missed. Uh, Taking over where we left off on page 513. Anybody have any reports to make over the last of happenings over the last couple weeks?
You-
Ken, how about you? Anything happen? Magical, mystical?
Oh, nothing too much. I did get it was an image or like a thought form. Like it was kind of like looking at a picture, sort of, but it looked like the Christ and the Avatar of Synthesis side by side. So I caught that in a little
Well,
vision.
that's cool. Yeah, we did some creative visualization around manifesting the avatar of synthesis or some of the lords of uh, delivery. What are they called, Ed? Liberation.
Liberation,
Yeah,
not
the lords of
delivery.
delivery. We need to be delivered by the
Well,
lords of.
that's Amazon.
Yeah, them too. Bring them on. Okay. Well, thank you, Ken. We'll keep our minds focused on creating a thought form that can be
Well,
fit.
I've been reading in the Raised Initiations, and I think it's very important that they give you a step by step description of the creative process and what you need to do when you talk about creating thought forms and projects.
Okay. Well, are you going to do that now or what?
Well, we're not going to do that now, but I think after we finish this book, we need to
What
start
pa-
that.
what pages is it on? We can study it.
Well, I don't have the book right in front of me. I was reading it in the morning, and the book is up in the upper room.
The upper chambers. That's raising
Yeah,
initiations.
yeah.
Okay. That may be a book we want to explore after this one. We've done initiation, human and solar, the reappearance of the Christ, the labors of Hercules. In this exoteric, he's talking about different groups, and he's stated earlier that just because you're a part of a group doesn't mean you're in the ashram of the master. Doesn't mean that you're soul conscious. It just means that you're dabbling into um, some esoteric information, some knowledge, getting your feet wet. He says the best groups are small, comprised of individuals that are a little bit further down the path. They know their purpose in life, and they've risen above their personality. They're in the operating higher in the plane of the soul, and they're more receptive to impressions from the spiritual hierarchy of masters. He says, this is page 513 in the externalization of the hierarchy. He says, in the esoteric group, which is composed of the true spiritual esotericists found in all exoteric occult groups, in the church, by whatever name it may be called, and in Masonry, you have the three paths leading to initiation. As yet, they are not used, and one of the things that will eventuate when the new universal religion has sway and the nature of esotericism is understood will be the utilization of the banded esoteric organisms, the Masonic organism and the church organism as initiating centers. These three groups converge as their inner sanctuaries are approached. There is no dissociation between the one universal church, the sacred inner lodge of all true Masons, and the innermost circles of the esoteric societies. Three types of men have their need met. Three major rays are expressed, and the three paths of the Master are trodden, leading all three to the same portal and the same Hierophant. Earlier, he talked about the three groups that the masters work through, the church, the churches, um, to give instructions, spiritual instruction to the leaders of the churches, stating also that the churches cannot hold the higher initiates. They're too rigid in their thought forms. The second group were the Masons, who operate under the seventh ray of ceremonial magic and order, and also the second ray of love, wisdom, and also the first ray of will, purpose, and power. So that's where the Masons are to be found, although they have lost their way to a large extent over the last 150 years. They don't have quite the vision that they once had, I don't think. And then the third group is people that are into education and groups that want to educate the masses. And of course, we're a part of that group as well. So these are the three groups that the masters are connecting with today as we speak. It must not be forgotten that only those souls who are on the probationary path or the path of discipleship will form the nucleus of the coming world religion. It exists on the inner planes for the purpose of gathering out of all the churches those who have reached the point in evolution where they can consciously and of their own free will place their feet upon that path which leads to the center of peace, who can in full awareness turn their eyes upon the great Lord and transmute the life of worldly endeavor into the life of service. The first detachment gathered into the coming church will be found to be a part of the present great band of servers. These have down the ages been associated with the Christ and his work. Remember always the fact of the work he did in connection with the last advent. And remember likewise that in the turning of the cyclic wheel, in the evolution of the spiral, similar conditions will eventuate. The same needs arise and the same egos incarnate that were present in the days of old Palestine. That's interesting. The numbers of those associated with him will be greatly increased. For all who knew him in earlier incarnations in the ancient East, all whom he cured or taught, all who contacted him or in any way incurred karma with him or with the Master Jesus, will have the opportunity to cooperate at this time. Each sincere aspirant who is closely connected with the present church organizations, who feels a close link with the Christ and who loves him, can be practically sure that in Palestine they saw him, knew him, and mayhap served and loved him. Well, that's a pretty broad, bold statement to make that anyone who was associated, affiliated, or connected with Jesus and or the Christ 2,000 years ago has an opportunity to fill a position on the first row and reconnect. Maybe that's us. Maybe we were there 2,000 years ago.
Well, I think that it's also true that we've been in a time in many ages of transition.
We've been around. We've been around forever. We wrote the very first song. Okay, Ken, read on. Let's see what else we can find out here.
The sacraments, properly understood, serve to strengthen this link in realization, and such a one as that of baptism, when entered upon with understanding, will draw forth oft the response from the great Lord himself. It is almost as if a golden strand were directed from his heart to the heart of the servant, a strand unbreakable and unfathomable, and which with each administration of any of the holy rites in the succession of lives becomes stronger, broader, and brighter. Eventually, these many strands will become reabsorbed into their source when the body of the Christ, one of the seven heavenly men on the second or monadic plane, is completed in full expression. For each one linked to him becomes, in a vital sense, a cell in his body. This the initiate Paul truly sensed and knew. Via this strand passes the power to strengthen, to stimulate, to vivify, and to bless. And this is the true apostolic succession. All true disciples are priests unto the Lord. There's no question, therefore, that the work to be done in familiarizing the general public with the nature of the mysteries is of paramount importance at this time. These mysteries will be restored to outer expression through the medium of the church and the Masonic fraternity, if those groups leave off being organizations with material purpose and become organisms with living objectives. When the great ones come with his disciples and initiates, we shall have, after a period of intensive work on the physical plane, beginning around the year 1940, the restoration of the mysteries and their exoteric presentation as a consequence of the first initiation. Why can this be so? Because the Christ, as you know, is the hierophant of the first and second initiations, and he will, if the preparatory work is faithfully and well done, administer the first initiation in the inner sanctuaries of those two bodies. Many faithful workers will, during his period of work on earth, take this first initiation, and some few will take the second. The race has now reached a point where many souls are on the probationary path but need the heightening of the vibration made possible by his presence to reach the portal of the path itself.
Thank you. Um, do you guys notice that when you're around certain people that you have a tendency to heighten their vibration? That they sense call it a divine presence. They can't really define it, but they sense something is unique and different and special about you.
I've noticed that we attract people that are interested in what we have to offer. There's a lady who had been the state treasurer of this state, who comes to the senior center. She was prior to that. She was in the legislature in Boston, not Boston, in Boise, and she always comes and wants to talk to me. She considers me to be her friend because I talk to her about things that are important, and there are people like that.
I did work for a guy yesterday out in Midvale Hill, out in the desert. You had to drive 3 or 4 miles through really rough terrain, and then you go around this corner, this hill, and it opens up into this beautiful little valley. He's got a nice log cabin home, a large log cabin home, many outbuildings, all kinds of equipment. He's got cows, land, and you just come upon it. We were talking about how blessed he was, and he concurred with that. Um, and I said, you must be a pretty spiritual person to be up here all by yourself. And I looked down, I said, well, in fact, here's the Bible. Although it is a little dusty, it had dust on it. He said, yeah, but this one isn't. He had another Bible. And so we got to talking about spiritual things. And I told him I'd written a couple books on spiritual philosophy. I said, and because you're such a good customer, I'm gonna offer this as a gift. And I gave him the one on spiritual philosophy. And if you want to know more, there's another book that you can check out on Amazon and go to it. Um, but I could tell he was kind of hungry for spiritual slash intellectual conversation, being kind of reclusive. And then I turned around and there was a woman there, and I think they were a couple. So we talked about the beauty of women and the role they play in bringing beauty into our lives and whatnot. Anyway, it was just a real pleasant experience hanging out with this guy named Ron. Ron Carter was his name. So I think a lot of people are willing and ready to entertain higher conversations and uh, open a door to sharing where you can offer, you know, like the Tibetan says, it's really important that we talk about the higher doctrines like karma and reincarnation and group activity and endeavor and the hierarchy and the masters, the kingdom of God and all those things. And you can't just, dump that information on someone. You have to prime the pump and prepare the soil. Otherwise, you'll be casting pearls before swine and people that won't receive it at all. Your seeds will go on unfertile ground. But if you prime the pump and prepare the soil, you'll be surprised how many people are willing and receptive to what we have to offer. Okay, let's see. Well, gosh, Ed, it's your turn. You're going to find
Well,
out
let me take a turn around the page here.
a tour around the page. Yeah. So
And now, what is it that you all can do? What is the condition surrounding the aspirants of the world today? We have a world full of unrest, a world full of pain, sorrow, and strife, a world in which the emotional bodies of humanity are in a condition of tremendous disturbance, a world in which animal men and women and children suffer, agonize, and die, a world in which hunger, sin, sickness, famine, rapine, and murder stalk unarrested, a world in which the forms of religion exist, but the life has gone, in which the, the life has gone, in which science is prostituted to the ends of money and hate, and in which the produce of earth is not for the sustenance of the race, but for the nourishing of the purse of a few, a world in which faith is off subject of scoffing, in which the unselfishness is regarded as the attribute of a fool, and in which love is ex- exploited in its lower expression, sex. In this atmosphere in which Christ and his disciples, is this the atmosphere in which Christ and his disciples can breathe? Is this a condition in which they can find harmonious influences? Is this a state of affairs in which they can work and live? Are the vibrations extant upon the planet similar to theirs and to which they can respond? We know that this is not so, and that much of this is to be done and facilitate the work. What then can we do? And I think they're describing what's going on right now.
yeah, it sounds like it.
First, teach the law of evolution and its inevitable corollary, perfected men. Men must be taught that such great souls exist and exist entirely to serve their fellow man. The public must be familiarized with their names and attributes, with their work and purpose, and men must be told that they are coming forth for the salvation of the world. Well, that sums it up. That what in our conversations we have to find a way of steering the great ship of conversation in that direction.
Well, that's right. So he's telling us what is it that you can do? And like I mentioned earlier, uh, teach the law of evolution and its inevitable corollary, perfected men. It's because through evolution, those those advanced souls have experienced all of the experiences of Earth life and have moved on through and evolved. They have evolved into the fifth or spiritual kingdom of the gods. Uh,
That process can be explained by things we already know. We, we graduate from one grade to another in school.
Everybody goes from the fifth grade to the sixth to the seventh, unless you drop out. Don't drop out.
When you're explaining esoteric things, you have to, it has to be built upon the foundation of what people already know.
Okay, secondly, disciples and aspirants must on every hand live harmoniously and love. The violent vibrations of our surroundings must be stilled by a strong counter vibration of love, remembering ever that as we work on the side of evolution, the power of the Godhead itself is with us, available for use. Naught can withhold the steady pressures of love and harmony when they are applied long enough. It is not spasmodic efforts that count. It is the long sustained, unvarying pressure which eventually breaks down opposition and the walls of separativeness. Thirdly, esoteric organizations must stand for all that tends to unity. All types of work, all the exterior efforts of the many organizations must meet with loving cooperation and assistance. We stand in a world of endeavor as focal points of love. Our objective is the helping of the great ones and the rendering to them of that intelligent assistance which will make their plans for humanity materialize. Through us, they choose to work for the uplift of the world, and through the esoteric groups, there must be the putting forth of that intensified spiritual effort which will stem the tide of evil and avert the possible difficulties that lurk in the darkness of the present chaos. The living organism of aspirants and disciples can provide a center of peace, power, and love, of practical help and spiritual uplift, such as the world has not hitherto seen. Such is the hope. See you to it. Well, like he says, the masters work through us. They choose to work for the uplift of the world. How else can they work? We're the ones that are here and present and accounted for. So we're the ones that can affect the world around us as we know it, not some unknown force. But the living aspirants and initiates and those higher in consciousness than the brother that he will connect with. So, excuse me. You have to use wisdom in how you present these truths. You can't present all things to all people. You have to discriminate. Right, Ken?
You have to discriminate always.
Discriminate. All right. Well, read a couple there for yourself there, Ken.
Definite work must also be done in healing, in exercising, in curing mental and astral diseases, and it must be demonstrated to the world that the ancient power to heal still lies in the hands of those who consistently follow the Christ. Those who use this power only for the sake of the little ones, taking and seeking no personal reward, can manifest the ancient way to heal, which has small resemblance to the modern methods of the mental schools. Preparation too must be given to the developing of the higher psychic powers, and through the trained expression of those powers, can proof be given to the scientists of the world of the latent forces in man which can be utilized by those who wisely and sanely follow the footsteps of the Christ, the greatest psychic of all time. Hospitals and schools will appear under direct guidance of the masters. Teachers who can heal will come forth, and others will appear who will train the minds of the pupils to be responsive to direct inspiration from above. The faculty of the intuition must be developed scientifically. Finally, the church members and members of the Masonic fraternities must familiarize themselves with the inner significance of the various rites, ceremonies, colors, and rituals, and with the work performed upon the floor of the temple. They must know why such and such things are done in due order and the reason for the various precedences, the words, gestures, and acts. Should
Okay.
there be a real, okay, that's good.
Well, let's discuss that. Um, so those who use this power only for the sake of the little ones, taking and seeking no personal reward, can manifest the ancient way to heal, which has small resemblance to the modern methods of the mental schools. What do you think that means, Ed? What is the ancient way?
Well, I think that Jesus taught about healing. It said, by your faith, you're healed. we have to have the faith. We have to know that we have the power to make all things well, and we have to practice it.
I think you're
There's you,
right.
you and I can you and I can do this.
Yeah, just by the power of the God of God within us, without wanting anything in return, just using pure love and the energy to heal. He says all high initiates, all masters are endowed with the gift of healing, all of them. It's a natural phenomenon for them to see the cause of the grief and to heal people from it. So that's what we have to develop, and that inner vision so we can see what the cause of the ailment really is, whether it's emotional, mental, anguish, physical, could be they were in an accident of some kind, could be some emotional dysfunction, a lot of anger, guilt.
Right. That's the first part of healing is revealing the cause. You have to address the cause.
Right. So, there's a whole book on that, esoteric healing, we can go through as well. He talks a lot about using color and sound as instruments of healing too, something we can contemplate.
Back in the 80s, there was a group I went to in Laguna Niguel, and one time an elderly English lady came to the group. She was a healer from England, and she healed a lot of cases that the doctors couldn't deal with. And she one of the things I remember from that is she said we should focus on spring green, the healing color of spring green.
Well, green is a healing color. That's pretty well known. Spring green, is that kind of like this color green?
Well, that's pen green.
That's 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 spring green there. And
Yeah.
yeah, focus on that. I met a gal a few years ago who introduced us to a healing modality called Kalos, which was all about sourcing the cause, finding out when the ailment began, what the cause of it was, and how to reverse it. We took several of her courses. A lot of it had to do with muscle testing or reflexology, iridology, a lot of ologies. Um,
Well, most of that can be boiled down to some simple practices that there's such a smorgasbord of various things that people offer you in the marketplace, so to speak, that could be simplified.
well, I find rebirthing to be one of the best, where you just, through circular breathing, you have a breathing coach, you go back into your past and you breathe back to the point of the cause, and it'll come up. It manifests through uh, plowing through different neurological pathways to your past. There are lots of modalities. It's good to have your quiver full of these tools and then be able to pull out the ones that are most effective. All
Well,
right.
your intuition sometimes will tell you what needs to be. Like I mentioned before, there was a lady that introduced herself to me when I was working in real estate, and one time I went over to visit her, and she started going into some trance. She said some spirit was trying to kill her, and I thought I I put some water right on her forehead, and she immediately went to sleep, and it was over. And I left, but I knew that was the thing to do at the time.
Well, that's interesting. One time I was going to a meeting and this gal had a headache, and I said, "Well, here, let me just take care of that." And I massaged her frontal lobe right there, her third eye, and I'll just take care of that and let that headache be gone. Moved my hand, and she said, "What did you do?" I said, "It's gone, isn't it?" She says, "Completely gone." I don't tell too many people that because it was kind of one of those
Well,
rare sacred
first of all,
moments.
she had to believe that you had done that, and
She didn't believe it. She didn't have time to believe anything. She wasn't resistant. She just had, I just did it. I just reached up there and be gone, and it was gone. And yeah, well, part of her was receptive to it, but it wasn't like we had any discussion about it. It's just like, well, here, let me.
no, I mean, belief doesn't come from the discussion; it comes from that inner knowing.
Well, she had an inner knowing because it was gone. And since that moment's gone, let's see, Ed, read on, brother Ed.
Well, let's see. We're starting with should there be a real
I
true
think that's a good place.
okay, should there be a real true response to these practices, to these practical suggestions that may be possible for the work to go forward more rapidly than at present seems possible. Much trouble and stress may be averted if the aspirants of the world and measure up to their professed opportunity and make due service and effort, due sacrifice and effort. Much preliminary work has to be done. There must be much heavy work, plowing the soil and weeding out that which is undesirable. This may take 7 years. The work to be done in that period will be silent educational work and the diligent propaganda that the church and analogous organizations can do. Classes must be held by the occultists of the world in which the teaching is stepped down to meet the need of the little ones. The broad platform upon which the Christ should stand should be proclaimed, and instructions should be given to the meaning of the ceremonies and teachings. Then will follow 7 years of germination of the seed sown, a period of growth and development influences. This brings us to the period of 13 years from now to the cycle of 14 began the year before I proffered you these suggestions. Should the work progress as desired, it may mark the time of the near appearing of the great Lord and the close sound of his feet.
Okay. Well, classes must be held, and teachings must be stepped down to meet the need of the little ones.
Yeah, to step it down, you have to listen to them and kind of see where they're at. And then you have to use terminology that they know, because if we use the terminology we know, they wouldn't understand it.
Well, I like to start with getting people to acknowledge that it's important to live in the here and now, the present time and space, and to think about how many people want to talk about the past, their history, woe was me, sob stories, everything dealing with their past, or they're worrying about the future, um, this, that, and the other thing, and not really living completely connected in the here and now. And it doesn't matter what your religion is. You can find verification of that particular principle in any standard work. Living in the here and now. Take no thought of tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of itself. And I create a new heavens and a new earth, and the old shall not be remembered, neither shall it come to mind. So what does that leave? Leaves the present moment. So the presence of the presence is present in the present, and that is his present to those present. May I present this holy instant.
Hallelujah.
Have
Amen.
you read in Alice Bailey's autobiography? She's got a paragraph there where she talks about the past, and I think she's kind of speaking with a little bit of humor there. but how she thinks it's so ridiculous, or for people to go back in the past lives and all this, or even in your own life. And why would you want to? What she think? Why would you want to waste your time thinking about all that? It's gone, you know.
I don't. I don't care who I was.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, my teachers from Spirit told me that the only thing that they would tell me is that which is most important to what I was doing at the time.
what did they teach you?
They told me that my present career as a land surveyor is very much related to my time in the age of Akhenaten when I was an architect.
Well, there you have it. Well, my teachers tell me to just help as many people as you can, no matter what your vocation is. Make your vocation your avocation. And I'm able to reach a lot of people on some level just by doing pest control. Because after the job is done, I go in, sit down, have a cup of coffee with them, look at their bookcase, open up a line of conversation. You know, you have to play with what you've got where you are. But, getting people to live in the here and now, then you can branch out to, okay, now what would be your vision of the future? Where would you like to see yourself in a year or two or five? Um, you don't have to start off with reincarnation. You can worm your way into it slowly.
Well, and you can start off with a joke. You know,
Yeah.
reincarnation is like, I say, what would it be like if everyone in the country had a red car?
I want a red car.
You'd have a red carnation.
Red carnation. Oh,
Then you
tarnation.
start talking. Then you talk about reincarnation.
Yeah.
DK makes a
I need a
statement. I
new
think it,
car. That's like when people say, well, when are you going to retire? I say, well, I just retired my pickup. They don't get it. I put new tires on my pickup. It's retired. Okay, fine. These servers who watch on the inner side, the disciples and initiates engaged in this work, watch with loving care all who struggle in the thick of the fray. They are like the headquarters staff who follow the battle from the secure eminence. In their security lies your ultimate success, for they hold on to their hands the solution of many problems and apply the solution when the battle goes contrary. One thing always I appeal to you to remember, for it is of vital importance. It is the fact that in the destruction of the form lies the secret of all evolutionary growth. Isn't that the truth? This is not a truism. I says, isn't that the truth? And he says, it's not a truism. Oh boy, but it is the truth. You can see it in constant expression. The masters utilize the form, a form of church organization, a Masonic fraternity, an esoteric group, for example, as much as may be. They seek to work through it, imprisoning the life within the confining walls for just as long as the purpose is served and the race is instructed through that form. Then comes the time when the form may no longer serve the intent, when the structure atrophies, crystallizes, and becomes vulnerable and easily destroyed. Make a note. So it goes, and a new form takes its place. Watch and see if this is not ever so. In the infancy of the race, for the forms for long endured. Evolution moved more slowly. But now, on this upward trend, the form has but short duration. It lives vitally for but a brief period. With rapidity, it moves through its cycle. With rapidity, it disintegrates and is succeeded by another. This rapidity will increase and not decrease as the consciousness or inner expanding realized life of the race vibrates to a more rapid rate of rhythm. Boy, I really like that. Um, in the beginning, evolution moves slowly. You know, it's kind of like when you're a kid, time moves more slowly than it does as you get older. Man, when I was a kid, Christmas was never going to get here. Now it comes over and over and over, and you know, it's like it just time moves much more rapidly as you get older and more further down the path.
Well, yes, the Earth begins to speed up on its axis.
Yeah, that too. The whole solar system is vibrating at a higher frequency. We just have to keep up with it. I'll finish this page. It says, this will be tremendously increased during the vital and unusual cycle upon which we entered in 1913. 1980,
1918.
yeah, thank you. Which will be tremendously speeded up by in 1925. That's when they had their conclave 100 years ago. And will climax in a peculiar sense in 1934. We shall then enter upon 3 years of excessive endeavor in an effort to hasten the coming and to prepare mankind for the great day of opportunity. You who know of these times and can interpret them aright in the light of the illumined intuition must unite together for the rendering of service and for the helping of the brotherhood of which the Christ is the divine leader, and of which the masters, the initiates, disciples, and aspirants are the working and living organism on the physical plane. Amen.
I wonder
Well,
if DK is leaving us a hint there
if
that since this is 2025, maybe it's going to take, what is that? How many years is that from 25 to 34?
9 years.
So,
well, there were 8 years, 7 years from 1918, which was near the end of World War I, and the world was in crisis. 1925 is when there was a spiritual conclave, a meeting of the masters. And then 1934, this is just preliminary to the Second World War.
That was preliminary to me being born 4 years later.
Yeah, you were born in 38?
Yep.
Well, you're an old fogey, aren't you? A 38 model. Wow. Well, whatever years we're talking about, this is the year that counts right here.
Right. This is the year when we have to do more than just agree with ourselves and you do and get out and do what you're doing and you're meeting people and that we have to do more of that.
Yeah, and we have to look for the openings, and spirit. Here's the thing I've found in life coaching when I was working with a lot of people, and they had issues, but they couldn't identify them, and they couldn't isolate them, and it was my job to help them do just that, so they could rise above that problem or solve it. And I'd be talking to them about it could be any number of things, and through the course of a conversation. uh, the light would dawn, the door would open, the window would open, and I'd see what the problem really was. And it was all done by spirit. Spirit would reveal what that person's fear was, what their issue was, what the solution was. And then I could present it, and they would see, aha, I see that. And then they would have to act on it. And that was the hard part. They would have to, and I always at the end of the session would give them an assignment and then meet with them every week. And then, okay, now next week I want you to have accomplished this, this, and this, or maybe it was just a this, and send them on their way. And then next week they had to show up having accomplished something along that. particular line of assignment. But spirit will reveal what you need to talk about with a person, because their soul is seeking higher enlightenment. Their soul is using their personality as a vehicle or an instrument, and it will help open that door. All you have to do is let your soul connect with their soul through the two personalities, and that door will open, and then you'll see it. So then you'll know what to talk about and what not to talk about. Let the spirit be your guide, in other words.
Yes, your intuition is always good.
I don't get attached to, when I was putting together a breakthrough program that's, like this thick of pages and programs and participles. Uh, I'd be working on a particular, like defining my life's purpose, maybe. And I'd get all excited about it. And I'd want to tell everybody about the latest adjunct. But then I discovered that you can't want to superimpose any of your teachings. You have to wait till that door opens. And it may not have anything to do with what you just created. So, you have to kind of let go of wanting to follow a certain line of thinking because they may not be able to track with you on that particular line. But so I say that because everybody out there on a level of the soul is looking for a higher state of connection, communication, and union. And it's up to us to help them raise them up. And that happens when you reach a place of what would be the best word? Relation, where you relate. I relate. I'm hearing you. I relate to that. You know what I mean, Ken?
Yes, I just read something from DK the other day. I just browsing through and in a situation like that when you meet somebody and you don't know too much about them yet, and he said that you can't give them the deep stuff that you just. But he said what we should do is just strengthen the light that's already in them and go from there. That's how he phrased it, something like that.
Right.
To strengthen the light that's already, or the understanding that's already in them, and that will give them confidence, and that will help them in that way.
How do you do that?
Well, you stay positive and encouraging, and if they want to talk about particular topic, that's what you'll talk about. What they want to talk about.
Hmm. Well, you listen first of all to where they are in consciousness and try to build on it.
Yesterday I did work for this gal and I came in and I said, "Well, now just sit down and tell me all about it." Really? I can just tell you all about it? I said, "Please do." And she started talking about this, that, and everything else. I just said, "Tell me about it." As an entrepreneur, if you want to make a connection with, let's say you're selling, uh, I used to sell Matol. It was a health drink, and people were making money hand over fist with it. I mean, this was just like the hottest thing in the 80s. So let's say you're getting gas at a station and up pulls a Mercedes Benz and the guy's looking really sharp and you want to make a connection with him. Well, I had four things that you do. Um, you introduce yourself, or you might just say, "Boy, something that's totally innocuous. Boy, it's sure a nice day, isn't it?" Yeah, oh yeah. Hey, that sure is a nice car you've got there. Man, you're looking sharp. You must be off to a meeting of some kind. So you give them a compliment, and then you give them a card, and then you have to have physical contact. So you shake their hand, and there are certain things that if you do, it endears them to you in a way that you can say, "Hey, you know what? I got a little information I'd like to share with you. Do you have an email address?" Yeah. Well, what do you want to share? Well, I've been writing articles for the local paper on spiritual philosophy, and I'd like to send you one or two. Oh, oh, okay. Well, I'm open to that. Spiritual philosophy, huh? Is this some kind of a religion? You some crackpot? No, no, you have your own religion. Yada yada. But you discover ways that work in everybody's personality. Ed has a different personality than Ken, so he might use a different approach if he wanted. He sees a person with a halo over their head and he wants to connect with them. His approach might be entirely different. What would you do, Ed, if I drove up and had a halo over my head? And you think,
Well, I think I would say, hey, that's a nice halo.
hey, that's a nice halo you got over your. Do you know that you're sporting a halo? So, hello.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
I just want to say hello. So that was the game, and I've played this game all my life of making connections with people, all ever since I was 5 years old. I was I had a network of friends, so that when my sister and I started selling Wallace Brown all occasion cards when I think I was 7 and she was 6, we just knew where to go, and we sold everywhere we went. People bought from us. How could they say no to a couple kids on a bicycle? So I learned how to do that and not have any fear about meeting strangers because it's like what's his name said, there are no strangers, only people I haven't met yet. Who said that? He was the urban cowboy. He used to run lariats and Rogers was his name.
Will Rogers.
Will Rogers,
Oh,
thank you, Will Rogers. There are no strangers, only people I haven't met. And so, it's easy to connect with people. And then it's up to you to use your wisdom in opening the door.
Well, I found that you can always find something to say to someone, and if people are usually willing to talk to you and have a conversation.
Everybody has something they want to talk about. That's why I say, sit down and tell me all about it. Let's have a cup of coffee. Or a cup of coffee is usually pretty innocent. Put some good sweetener in there. So this week, let's okay, here's an assignment. Uh, make a connection, even if it's only superficial, with 5 people, 5 strangers.
There are no strangers,
Okay, fine, Ed.
only
People
people I
people
have
that you haven't
met.
met. Okay, people that you haven't met yet. Uh, open the door to connect with 5 people that you have heretofore never made a connection. 5. Do you accept this assignment, Ken?
well, I'll try to say hello to five amigos here.
Well, take it past my. Okay, the challenge is to take it beyond a hello. Actually, have a 2-minute conversation.
Well, Ken, you just get in a boat in that river behind you and see how many people you come across.
Hey, all you got to do, Ken, that's a good idea, Ed. get in the boat and say, "Help, I'm drowning. Help me, help me." And they'll come to your rescue, and then you can sit down and talk to them about it. Gosh, thank you so much. Tell me about yourself. There's nothing people would rather talk about than themselves. Even me, I like talking about me. Enough about me. You guys go ahead and talk about me.
Well, let me talk about my past for a while. Now
Yeah.
that you talked about your past, like I told you, I, I try to be a mediator when the occasion arises. I had a job to lay out a whole the development of a school in Santa Ana, California, and it made it out of steel beams. It was a two-story building, and when after they had all the steel up there, the contractor asked me to go around and see if they're all plumb. So I got out my equipment and set up a procedure and made a list of all of the columns that were not plumb. There were quite a few of them, and it was kind of a the architect and the contractor were all in a huff about what are we going to do now, and I mediated the problem. First of all, I told them we're not building a bridge. It would take an atom bomb to to knock the steel structure down.
You're building an Antankarana.
But anyway, but you can always find a way to mediate the problem and bring people together, get them out of their emotional body, and begin to think toward resolution.
Yeah, ask them a question. It's always good to ask a question. Get them to thinking a little bit. That way you can get insight. Well, what do you think the world the way it is today? I tell you. Do you see any hope, any solution, any prospects of positive change? Man, I think it's going to be up to us if things are going to happen. What do you think? Well, I have to agree with that. I know. Because, there's a lot of power in small groups. I've read that somewhere before. Yeah, in fact, we're a small group. We're just a bunch of us that study um, different philosophies and politics and change and see where we're heading. And we're going to meet on Thursday at 7 o'clock on Zoom. If you'd like to come join us, that'd be great. Love to have you. What's your name? Shaking hands, and then away you go. So there you have it. They're out there waiting. People are waiting for someone to come along and offer them salvation.
I like the Moody Blues. I'm waiting for someone to change my life.
I'm waiting for a miracle in my life. If you could be. Do. Okay, I don't know that song very good, but about like you do. Okay, any other comments before we sign off? Well, Ken, why don't you say something spiritual to end this meeting? I did it, and Ed's done it. Now it's your turn. We want to hear from you.
Something spiritual.
Yeah,
Bless us all, everyone.
yeah. Tell us all about it.
I was thinking about something the other day when Jesus healed Lazarus or woke Lazarus from the dead and he came out of the tomb.
Yeah,
Well, Lazarus, I believe the Hebrew word for Lazarus is Eleazar, and he was the first of the Levitical priesthood. And so I had the thought, and I think this is probably true, that in a deeper sense, and this is for us, is that the Christ was saying, disciples, come forth.
Well, I like that. Rather than Lazarus, he was saying disciples.
Yeah, disciples, wake up, come forth. The time is now. And that was 2,000 years ago. So,
Well, he still was trying to raise the dead.
yeah, they're spiritually dead, trying to wake up to,
Metaphorically, metaphorically
yeah,
speaking, he was trying to raise the dead. Go ahead. What'd you say?
yeah, I was just agreeing with you there.
Yeah. Huh. All right. So on the count of three, let's say disciples come forth. One, two, three. Disciples come forth.
Come forth.
All right. I think they're hearing it. All right. Let's
Well,
stay connected spiritually. If
I want to say that Mrs. Ballard, when I was a teenager, used to start a radio program every week to say, the ascended masters call you forth into the light. The cosmic hour has struck, beloved ones, when the ascended masters call you forward into the light.
all right. Aim higher and come forth. Love you guys. See
Me
you next
too.
week. Five people, five strangers, five people that you haven't met yet. Make a
Live
connection.
long and prosper.
Yeah. Namaste.